Hi there, YouTube. It is I, the one, the only, Naudia Exotica. Welcome to Vlogmas Day 23. That means there's only 2 more days left. And while it was very tiring and a lot, and so much editing late at night, and filming, getting glam, it's still so, like, I loved it so much. And I'm just excited for what's to come, honestly. So yeah, and thank you so much for sticking with me. We're on the road to 5K, so if you're not subscribed, like, let's say you're lurking, subscribe. You know you want to subscribe. Like, what's the point in just dropping in, baby doll? You know you want to subscribe. I mean, on some real shit. Especially after this story time, which I am going to need some Cookie Nookie for. If you don't know what Cookie Nookie is, it's a wonderful holiday festive drink by Buzzball. I might or might not be drinking that right now. YouTube will never know. This could also be coffee. It could be decaf coffee. It could be gingerbread flavored coffee or tea with milk. You just don't know. So anyway, whatever it is fabulous. Let's set the scene for you guys. Okay, so this was after my bed and breakfast job. Now listen, here's a whole preface. There was someone who was so sweet way long ago, I'm talking years ago, on my YouTube, who was like really going up to bat for like, oh, you know, like trans women and sex work, you know, all these things, like, I'm so sorry, you know, all these things, like, just being so gracious. And I'm just like, listen, sweetheart, I've had every single job under the sun. Everything you can think of, including a tattoo apprenticeship, I've done. Okay, I was in pharmacy tech training. There's just so much hospitality, everything. So this job was like 2 jobs after the bed and breakfast that I was at. That was fabulous. That I've talked about numerous amounts of times on my channel. I left the bed and breakfast, which was ran by 2 fabulous women, for higher pay at a school. I was a janitor for like a couple months. And then I left the janitor job to go work at a beauty supply store. And actually it was kind of funny how I got the job, because the lead there was like, I'd stopped in after work at one point and to buy, I think I bought a curling iron, which I no longer have, or a crimper or something. It was something. And the lead was like, haven't you applied here before? And I was like, I'm pretty sure, yeah. And she's like, do you need a job? Apparently they were out, they had an open position. I was like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. And then got the whole ball rolling and all of that after I had left the high school job. So it was kind of all downhill from there, and I didn't quite know what to expect. What's very funny, mind you, this was probably like 2017, I think. Gosh, I must have been like 22 years old, 23. Anyway, I didn't quite know what to expect, because you know, it was a beauty, it was a beauty industry job, right? Like, it was something that I'm just selling beauty products. Like, how hard could that be, right? Not kind of knowing the dynamic that was kind of waiting for me there. Of course, because it's the beauty world, and people might not like that I say this. I don't give a shit. I'm a straight shooter, bitch. I'm just gonna say it exactly how it is. The beauty industry is full of bullshit and full of people that are so full of themselves, lots of ego, and just stupid shit. So that's why I'm like, I never quite knew what to kind of anticipate. Comparing it to like a Mac counter, which I hear are even more catty, even more like cutthroat, dog eat dog. This beauty supply store was like a step below that, okay? And let's just say I should have known that this was going to be rocky, because during my little, like, they did a training, a 3-day training at a completely separate location. On the 3rd day, which was the last day, I ended up accepting a fake $100 bill. Which was, and by the way, it was like such a fucking good fake. This was when it was starting to get really freaking good. It wasn't just like washed. It was genuinely like, it was like everything. Like they had imprinted the back, like everything. It just looked so convincing. But the lead manager there who was training me was like, that's a fake 100. So I remember her calling the Ulta that was right nearby to warn them. Anyway, that should have set the tone, but I still didn't really quite, I just wasn't catching on, and I was kind of like, hey, you know, like beauty supplies, dope. I'm like buying hair extensions all the time. And this was around when they had this really nice brand of virgin Brazilian hair. And it was like super long. Like I loved those fucking wefts. And as a matter of fact, I remember at like one of my previous jobs before that, I would spend so much money in there. Like my whole paycheck would go right to that damn beauty supply. But anyway, so that was like the training location. Then when I finally went to the normal location that I was going to be working at, it was crazy. I had just, my first 2 days or so, I was working with someone who was inevitably going to get fired. And some girl befriended me who a lot of other girls did not like. Of course. But I knew to maintain like, listen, okay, anyone who's like maybe in their early 20s watching me right now, the best advice I could give to you in a work environment is to have the mentality of like, you're not there to make friends, because you're fucking not. You're there to make coin and then bounce. But I didn't get too attached to this lady anyway. Like it's just so strange. Aside from that one kind of bad egg, I was like, okay, this is kind of dope. Like, you know, so far so good. What can possibly go wrong? And I think it wasn't until the 4th month that I was there that this girl had kind of been, I don't remember exactly the reason why she left. It was almost like she was gonna quit before she knew she was ultimately gonna get fired or something. And also, I tell people this all the time. Let me just say, if you ever go to beauty supply stores, the workers there, the employees there, just because they're in the beauty field doesn't mean they're trained professionals. They have the potential to ruin your fucking hair, so you better be careful. I would suggest YouTubing a video before asking help from some of these people. I watched this girl give this like terrible fucking advice on coloring, and the person she gave the advice to came back and was like, yeah, this completely screwed up my hair. All this beauty supply in particular did was do modules. Like you had to do these little workshops, and one of the leads there actually ended up doing it for the employees. So they weren't learning a damn thing, and they were just telling you to use whatever. It was crazy. So anyway, this girl ultimately was about to either get fired or let go or like quit. I don't really quite remember, but on her way out, she decided to stir the pot. And I was like completely blindsided because I was really kind of starting to enjoy this. I'm like, not all the girls are super catty. It's not like quite like that. You do have to listen to some shit sometimes. Mind you, this was a smaller store, but I was like, this is so chill. Like so far I kind of fuck with everybody here. She decided to stir the pot and let me know that the lead manager who hired me initially, before being hired there, thought I was stealing from the store. Now listen, okay, I'm not perfect, and in the past, I most certainly, especially in my teenage years, up until probably I'd say 19, I was doing dumb shit, absolutely. But I knew better than to steal from somewhere I frequent because I love the place. I don't want to be banned from there. So, finding that information out and being like, okay, you know, I kind of sat there and was like, interesting, thanks for letting me know, you know, like she's sitting here chopping it up with me. I thought we were really cool. And again, this is kind of when it clicked for me, like, you're not there to make any friends, you're there to do your job. But she's like sitting there smiling in my face this whole time. This is a lead who actually had a very friendly and kind of strong connection to one of the district managers. Like, I'm like, are you serious? So I kind of sat on that for a minute. I'm like, okay, interesting. And this was like during a shift where it was just me and her. I'm like, all right, good to know. Cool. You know, sipping my tea, whatever. And I happened to know that I was going to have a, shift just with the lead alone the following day or the day or so afterwards. I can't quite remember. The reason why I remember it was because I had this foolproof plan to write out a note, like my resignation, and not give my 2 weeks. Now listen, okay? Do as I say, not as I do. 100%, if you're watching, you're impressionable, you know, you need some job advice. The second thing I can tell you is to always put in your 2 weeks. Always. This job I genuinely didn't give a fuck about. I just was like, whatever. I was so new to it. It was only 4 months in. And then also, I kind of already had this plan in mind anyway. But I wrote out my resignation on a piece of paper because what the fuck do I look like working for someone who thinks I've stolen before? For one. And for two, I knew in the back of my mind, like, if anything goes wrong at all, they're going to blame me. Like, the fingers will be pointed at me. So I'm not a dumbass, bitch. I was not born yesterday. I'm not fucking continuing to work here. So, I had planned to just kind of leave it and then after my shift, never fucking come back. Little did I know I had to come back. So I was pissy. Like, I was just like, whatever. Like, this is so... I was like, I'm just gonna up and leave because fuck you. So during my shift with this lead, I kindly mentioned, like, when the store was finally slow, was like, yeah, so you thought I stole before hiring me and I just don't understand the logic behind it. And she was so like a deer in the headlights, like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, never thinking that it was going to get back to me. But you guys were gossiping with the one girl that literally no one in the store really fucked with about me. So after confronting her, when she looked shocked, the first thing out of her mouth was, please don't quit. Please don't quit. Please don't quit. But I knew, first of all, even like saying all this shit, I knew, I'm like, I know better than to stick around here. And let's say something goes awry during my shift and I'm blamed for it. Meanwhile, I'm getting the most signatures for the little membership they had. Like, I was tracking in some good, you know, interactions with customers. Absolutely not. I'm not staying here. And so we talked it out a little bit and she goes, well, yeah, like a long time ago, I thought you were stealing because you came in here with a big purse. Like, baby doll, have you never heard of style, swag, finesse? Are you serious? Just because I have a big purse? I told her, I was like, I was working at my aunt and uncle's restaurant for years, spending my paycheck, my $175 paycheck of my first job in here. On hair dye, on makeup, on hair, everything. Why would I ever do that? Like, I just knew, like, general rule of thumb, I'm not telling anyone to do anything. I'm also not endorsing stealing at all. Thievery is wrong, okay? But what the fuck do I look like stealing from a place that I frequent? That's just so stupid. I love the products here. I'm not going to risk anything like that. Like, that's so dumb. So we kind of hashed it out, you know, in the middle of the shift, and customers were kind of coming in and we kind of had to pause it. But it basically came down to, she was like, please don't quit. Please don't quit. And listen, I'm just that bitch. Like, I have a good poker face. I have a good ass poker face. And I'm like, I won't quit. Like, I'm glad we talked this out. I won't quit. I promise. Later that night, the shift ends. I was like, see you later, you know, whatever, see you tomorrow, my next shift, whatever. And I drive off first, but I didn't go home. I just kind of circled around the parking lot, parked somewhere, and then went back. I waited for her to leave. I kind of slipped the note in between the door, so that was kind of sticking out, and bid adieu to that place. And I wrote down in the note specifically, I remember being like, mail me my check, here's my address, like, I'm good. Or I said something like, you have my address. Like, I was so thorough in the note that, like, I don't want to be blamed because you have this preconceived kind of idea about me. Absolutely not. And I think I said too, like, I hope that the district manager knows the reason why I'm quitting is da-da-da-da-da, because then it would come back on the lead because you hired someone that you were suspicious about prior. It makes no sense. It makes genuinely no sense. And you know, I think I ended up getting a call the next day or something being like, listen, we can't mail you your check. You're gonna have to come in. I came in and grabbed it. I was so pissed off. And then the other lady, because the lead wasn't there, the other lady was like, listen, I hella understand why you did this. Like, you are so justified in doing this. I'm like, shout out to you, girl. You're the only fucking real one in these damn beauty streets, for crying out loud. And so then I kind of had to learn the hard way. I'm like, now if this is on a small scale of having to deal with shit like that, I can't even imagine a Sephora. I can't even imagine a MAC counter. I'm not going to smile in your face knowing I've said shit about you before. Absolutely not. Or vice versa. I don't like that. There's nothing about that I'd want to be a part of. Okay. And, I don't know. I feel like this kind of bleeds into what I've seen online in regards to, the whole beauty community. It's like, it's been nothing but bullshit and fakeness and just drama. And I don't like that. So this is kind of a long, drawn out story as to why I'm not professionally into makeup. Absolutely not. Professionally into beauty. Absolutely not. I'm in it for myself. It's literally for me. Because I don't dabble in bullshit like that. No way. No fucking way. I would also love to point out that the lead at the time was in her mid to late 30s. And all of us that were working there were in our early 20s. And it's just so catty. Like, how do you picture yourself growing in this company when there's just so much cattiness? Not for me, my dear. So, gosh, it's so crazy to think about that because it was like a whole other lifetime. And you guys ever have like music or certain kind of things that remind you of a certain time in your life? There's a couple songs that remind me so much of this beauty supply store during this time because those songs were played on repeat. Friends by Marshmello and Anne Marie, I think her name is. That Taylor Swift song, that's the only song I really like. I can't even remember how it goes. Or what it's called rather. Like just so many different songs remind me of this era. And it was so pivotal because I was under the impression like I want to pursue beauty. During this increment in time was when I had my orientation with my friend at a private beauty college. And I realized like, oh, so I'm not getting into this beauty college. They want hell of money from me and I'm working at this beauty supply store. This was kind of before the real hustle took off, right? So it's crazy. But I hope if anything you get out of this story is to just go to work, not to make friends with anybody because it could really backfire in your face. You don't know who you're, cozying up to. And then the second thing is to never stick around where you don't feel wanted or needed or whatever. Like, just don't stick around there. Use your intuition to fuck right off. Anyways, you guys, I really hope you enjoyed this story. I'm so happy I now have it on my YouTube. I'm like, oh, I never did a story time about this. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or video requests, feel free to email me. My email is naudiaexotica@gmail.com. Follow all my links at naudiaexotica.com. And also don't forget to read my blog, which is naudiascuriotrove.com. I also have Patreon. That's patreon.com/naudiaexotica, where you can find so much more of me over there. And until the next video, there's only 2 more days, you guys. 2 more days. You will be hearing from me very soon.